The agricultural industry is on track to becoming a $100 billion per year industry. It's great news for global exports, but there's a catch to this gigantic progress. The $100 billion are hiding an alarming crunch. Farmers across the globe are feeling the pressure to produce more and more products, and land and fertilizer prices are skyrocketing. There's a lot more to this, folks, so stay tuned. First up, Fiona Simpson reveals the true cost of farming. So, what is the true cost of farming? Let's answer that by looking at the figures released by the Government of Australia. Between 2022 and 2023, the agricultural exports will reach a record $64.9 billion. This is really positive considering the Russia-Ukraine crisis and increasing global inflation. Consumers are demanding more and more food, but Fiona Simpson, president of the National Farmers Federation, revealed that this positive trend in global agricultural exports hides the cost of farming crunch that's impacting farmers and consumers. Let's break it down. So, according to the latest agricultural commodities report by the Australian Bureau of Agricultural and Resource Economics, the agricultural industry's gross value will tip past the $80 billion mark, and that's for a second consecutive year. Surprisingly, the weather conditions have been favorable for farming, considering how severe the heat waves have been across parts of South Asia and the Middle East. But it's even more surprising because the world food prices have been increasing steadily over the past 2 years. So, for agricultural exports, it's a full thumbs up. However, Simpson pointed out that these positive figures don't paint the entire picture. Even though we're seeing a global increase in exports, indicating a bumper season, farmers across the globe are feeling the pain of mind-numbing production costs. According to Simpson, the prices for fuel, fertilizers, and power are on a rocket ship to the moon. And just to give you a taste of how expensive everything's gotten, here's a few teeny-tiny numbers for you. So, urea and diammonium phosphate, or DAP for short, are both used as fertilizers and are up by 89% since last year. Urea's going for $620 per ton, and DAP's going for $1,100 per ton. Ouch. As for fuel prices, well, the entire world suffered from increased oil prices in 2021 and 2022. The same goes for the already overworked farmers, who have to shell out 49% more than they did last year, at a rate of $1.44 per liter. And considering the pressure on farmers to increase their farms' profitability, this isn't good news at all. Energy costs across the globe are increasing due to resource depletion and increased global demand for the precious resource. To put it simply, there's barely enough Nutella to spread evenly on our bread. But we're not done with the upsetting news yet, folks. Fuel, fertilizers, and power are obviously more expensive in 2022, but so are land prices. So, let's say you want to purchase some good old farmland and start a mini farm. A hectare or two seems reasonable to start off with, right? Maybe get some adorable ducks, a few cows, and a goat that stares at you creepily while you're working. A farmer's dream, right? Well, hold up there. See, to get a hectare of farmland in, say, Australia, the average price has gone up 20% since 2021. Now, it's a cool $7,087 per hectare of land, and that's the largest year-on-year increase in dollar terms in the last 27 years. Gee, ain't farming 101 fun? Next, why food inflation is more worrying than before. The Australian Bureau of Agricultural and Resource Economics pointed out that producers are currently dealing with the highest fertilizer prices since 2008, and the global energy crisis hasn't helped either. So what happens when they combine? Food inflation. That's what. According to Must Grow Biologics Group, food inflation now appears to be an ongoing global crisis. It surpassed the blow from COVID-19 back in 2020 and 2021, and it could drive millions into food shortage. Let's take a look at 40% of all the calories humans currently consume: wheat, corn, and rice. The three most in-demand crops are now victim to rising shipping costs, energy inflation, and extreme weather changes. And then there's the Russia-Ukraine crisis, which is driving commodity prices even higher. What this means is that those who could barely afford enough to eat enough calories last year won't be able to afford it this year. That's incredibly worrying. The United Nations warned that the record-high global food costs could surge 22% as Russia's attack on Ukraine puts a damper on trade and upsets harvests. The 22% is alarming because global food costs were already up by more than 40% over the last 2 years alone. And we're sorry in advance, but there's a little more upsetting news. What can we do? 2022 just keeps giving, doesn't it? So we've got rising fuel prices, increased inflation, a Russia-Ukraine crisis causing a surge in global food costs, and expensive farming. Let's add an ongoing worker shortage to the mix and see what happens, shall we? According to the Australian Bureau of Agricultural and Resource Economics, the worker shortage in 2022 has put a handbrake on crop production across the globe, and it'll continue to get worse later in the year when farmers need all hands on deck for the most crucial harvest period of the season. And finally, what can we do about it? There are numerous challenges that the global agricultural industry is facing right now, but despite that, studies estimate that the farm sector is well on the way towards its target of $100 billion in total farm output by 2030. How will it overcome the challenges, though? Fiona Simpson recently hosted the new Australian Minister for Agriculture in regional Queensland, and he gave an illuminating speech to farmers and agricultural businesses. While he pointed out that not all the issues the global farming sector faces today are within the government's control, it's critical that the government works closely with the farming industry to help limit the impact of the crunch it's facing today. The truth is, the crunch can't be avoided. Oil is limited, land prices will continue to soar, and no one knows how long the Russia-Ukraine conflict will last. The only thing the industry can do is limit how much it affects them. As a result, it'll help the pressure on consumers too, since they won't have to go broke trying to buy essential commodities like rice or wheat. In short, we don't need more Nutella for our bread, we just need to produce the Nutella at a lower overall cost. And now, for more news. Starting with, Glenn Thompson addresses rising costs for farmers. The 94 House Republicans are trying to catch the attention of the Biden administration with their letter to the White House. U.S. Rep. Glenn Thompson and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy outline 9 solutions in their letter that they believe will reduce the regulatory costs hampering the U.S. agricultural sector. In the latter, he notes that the world is currently facing a disrupted global food system. The result is increased energy prices and fertilizer shortage. The only solution, according to Thompson, is immediate policy change. He also accused the administration of not taking action against rising fuel prices and other farming costs. So, what's his solution? Well, among the 9 proposed solutions in the letter, one example Thompson mentions is high fertilizer prices. The Interior Department maintains a list of critical minerals that require mining. So, by adding potash and phosphorus to the list, it'd streamline the entire process and help increase fertilizer production. Next, farmers say there'll be a turkey shortage this Christmas. More shortages, and not the ones that you'll like. Farming groups in the UK have issued a warning that this Christmas, the British folk can expect a shortage of delicious turkeys. Currently, around 10 million turkeys are eaten in the UK every Christmas. But guess what the problem was? Yep, increased production costs. It's now more difficult for farmers to rear the delicious birds. And on top of that, turkeys were hit hard by the avian flu this year, with the UK suffering from the longest outbreak it's ever seen. According to Michael Bailey, the Turkey Group chairman at the National Farmers Union of England and Wales, smaller turkey farmers aren't doing turkeys this year, and other much larger producers have decided to cut back by 20 to 50% just to reduce the risk of birds catching the flu. What could we possibly replace them with? Tell us your best alternatives. We'd go for a good old-fashioned chicken. And lastly, Kate Mara's new documentary exposes the environmental racism of factory farming. The Smell of Money, executively produced by actress Kate Mara, hopes to expose the years of torment that residents of Duplin County have experienced at the hands of meat giant Smithfield. The giant operates a hog farm in the region and has been accused of blatant disregard for animal and environmental welfare. The documentary sheds light on the health crisis created by Smithfield in Duplin County, which is home to mostly low-income black residents. As a result of exposure to untreated wastewater sprayed into the air by the meat giant, the residents face major health issues such as respiratory illnesses and a severely reduced quality of life. Mara hopes the documentary infuriates people when they watch how the environment, animals, and humans have been destroyed due to Smithfield's incompetence. The film's already got several accolades, including a jury award at this year's Sarasota Film Festival, so we're definitely gonna check it out. And that's a wrap, folks. Thanks for watching.